Hello, everyone. Things passengers never realize drivers go through. When I was doing rideshare, I had a variety of different passengers. And what sparked this topic was me reflecting about my time driving for Uber as well as Lyft. And I had a few passengers that would get into my back seat. And as the commute was taking place, we would start conversing just about the day. And then they would ask me, what is it that you go through being a driver? And I chuckled. And I told the passenger at the time that I go through a lot of different things, just like the unknown, like the individual that gets inside my back seat. I don't know what type of time they're on as far as their behavior, their mental state. It is somewhat not my business because my main responsibility was to get the passenger from point A to point B. However, there's always two sides to a coin. So the other side of that coin is that safety is first and foremost. And that was one of my major concerns. So when I would share this with the passengers, they would say, hey, that definitely makes sense. And guess what they would say shortly thereafter? They would say, that is why I am unable to do the ride share, the gig economy. And I thought about it for a while and I just agreed with them because who am I to tell someone how they think? Another thing that passengers never realize that drivers go through is just that it's their vehicle that they're driving. And I say this because sometimes I had passengers that would get in my back seat and they would get to eating. Now, luckily, they weren't like sloppy eaters. They had napkins or paper towels with them, so they were proactive. But there were times that I had to remind the passengers to take their trash as they were exiting my vehicle. Now, some of the passengers mistakenly thought that I was renting my car through the program for Uber or Lyft at the time. I always thought that was interesting, and I understood it. And I illustrated to them that that was not the case. Like, hey, this is my vehicle. And I shared with them, like, when I'm not, or when I wasn't, excuse me, when I wasn't doing rideshare, I was still driving my car around because I had to take myself places. I had errands to run and just the way of living. And that I take care of my vehicle. I try to keep it clean for the most part. And they understood that. And, when I would pick up the passengers from downtown, periodically, I did it once or twice, I believe. The first time I did it, before the passenger hopped in my back seat, I asked them, I was like, hey, are you all okay? Y'all don't feel nauseous? And I asked them like 2 to 3 times, just in a concern about their well being and my vehicle, because the last thing I wanted was anyone to throw up in my vehicle. So as I would pick the individuals up from downtown Dallas or downtown Fort Worth at the time, once they got in the car, some of them, as I was taking them to their destination, taking them home, the first thing was they would say was, "You must have had someone throw up in your car," and I was like, "Oh, on the contrary, I never have," and that's how I want to keep it. And I told them that, me asking these questions were one of the things that to weed that out. And of course, common sense was always common sense for me. If they looked like they were about to throw up, because when you pull up to downtown, most of the clubs are nearby each other, depending on the landscape of the city. You can see them come out. You can see their body language, how they're acting. Now, this is another thing that some of the passengers never realize that drivers go through. Every time a driver has to go downtown, or not even necessarily downtown, but if you're going to pick someone up from a function, this can be a day party or evening party. You just don't know how they've been drinking, how they've been indulging in food, and of course you don't know what their mental state is, right? So fast forward, what I did when I picked up the other passenger for the final time from the club, I had some bags with me. They weren't like throw up bags, but I had like bags from the grocery store. But I had like double bags that I would hand to two people just in case. In fact, when I got them to their destination, they thanked me, even though they didn't throw up. They just said if I would have threw up, I would have had something to throw up in. And I just was like, yeah, you definitely would have, because that's just how I tried to be proactive. Another thing that passengers never realize that drivers go through, pardon me, is different personalities that hops into the backseat of my vehicle, or those that currently do rideshare or thinking about doing rideshare for Uber or Lyft. I'm sure you all can understand and can relate to this. Like, you're dealing with different personalities, different mental states, and that comes off with each passenger that hops in. So, for example, I've had a passenger that would hop into the vehicle, not speak at all. And I know to some of you all may say, hey, it's not a big deal that he or she or they aren't speaking. But this is the thing. Since I do not know them, it's on the surface is rude personally. But beyond that, it's like, their day is going that bad that they can't speak. So me as a driver, not that I would go there, but if I was really to go there before I pulled off, I could really be concerned for my well-being, because this person didn't even have the the sense to speak. That's just normal behavior to me. That's not like, it's not out of pocket behavior. It's like that's just what people should do. When you hop into someone's car, you should speak. So a lot of passengers do not understand, when you get into the Uber or the Lyft for the driver and you don't speak, it can have them feeling uncomfortable with you initially. Unless, because I don't want to be disrespectful, unless the person is deaf, excuse me. But even then, if the person has some kind of situation that is beyond their control, the app usually gives a message, and that informs me as the driver, or as I should say, you all as the drivers, like what's going on. But yeah, a lot of passengers never realize that what drivers go through. In addition, there's what some drivers never realize. No, excuse me, not drivers, but some passengers never realize drivers go through is when they pick up a ride, they have to get them to their destination in a certain point of time. And I say this through my experience, because I had some passengers would be like, hey, can you stop here? Can you stop there? Now, beyond the point that let me know that they didn't plan right, also that they were taking me off of the beacon path for a moment. And I still had the choice to tell them no. And like I told you all in prior videos, I did not tell them no. And the reason being, if you're wondering why did you not tell them no, because they offered me cash money, and cash always rules. And they didn't. I didn't get bamboozled in the sense I didn't say like, okay, I'll stop, and then you give me the money. I was like, well, you have the cash, just give me the cash, and then I'll stop to QT, or I'll stop to Shell, or I'll stop to name a grocery store. And when I did that, then it got done. But yeah, it's just you know when I was doing ride share for Uber and Lyft, we're all interdependent, and I just think, and you all can tell me, those out there that participate in rideshare as drivers, you all can tell me, do you all think the passengers realize what you all go through? If you all like this content and this message, feel free to leave me your email address, and I can mail you a copy of my book, Miles Behind Me, Memoir from a Former Rideshare Driver, and the details of everything is in the description. You all continue to have a good day, and I'll catch you all on the next one. Peace.